Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and the Razzle Dazzler, a card that has recently been buffed, has become a pretty powerful card in the Hearthstone meta. Not necessarily broken, although I think you could make the argument it's a little bit broken, but it wasn't that long ago, back in 2019, the Rise of the Mech event, did we start seeing, for the first time ever, buffs in Hearthstone. We saw more buffs than ever in this patch, and ever since then, we've gotten more and more, and yeah, sometimes they've ended up breaking the game. Oh yeah. Like that card there. And we're gonna go through basically the most broken buffs that, yeah, broke the game. Did absolutely gross stuff, and pretty much all of them got reverted, nerfed in some way. And as always, if you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like, it helps out a lot as we're on the road to 85,000 subscribers. So we'll just say right out the gate, Luna's Pocket Galaxy was a fringe, unplayable card at 7 mana, and at 5 it broke everything, making your minions cost 1. You could coin this on 4. We had cards like Conjurer's Calling that was just disgusting with it. You'd play your 1 mana or 0 mana giant and conj it, and Caligos came out around that time. It was 10 mana at the time, but really it was 1 mana. And it was gross. It was insane, and it led to an absolutely broken meta state that had them not only go back on the buff to 5 mana, they just went right back to 7, didn't even bother going to 6, and it still saw a lot of play at 7, and was just one of the most outrageous things you've ever seen in the game. An example that was basically a wild exclusive one, Kalea Sunrider got nerfed twice. It went to 7 mana. Every third spell you cast each turn costs 1. It started at 6 mana, and every third spell was 0. And for some reason, when it rotated a wild, some Blizzard dev thought it was a good idea to revert a card that was more broken and wild than it ever was in and it was just broken. Turn 1 lethals became a possibility, and it just led to what I think is the most powerful deck ever in Hearthstone. I feel like if you reverted every card ever and you had Kalea at its original state, it would lead to the most powerful deck ever in Kalea Druid, because they got all the 0 mana spells, ramp, they could just destroy you, and it was one of the most just kind of baffling reversions, buffs we've ever seen, and I'm glad that it didn't take too long, although I did have to petition on Twitter pretty hard for it to get changed back. Another interesting one was the hero card of Magister Dawngrasp. This card started off at 8 mana. Its hero power would only deal 1 damage, and it got buffed to 7 with the hero power dealing 2. And for a while, it was just a good card, but as more support came, it became so freaking good in Standard and Wild. This was an absolute powerhouse of a card, and duels when that mode sadly existed and doesn't anymore. But yeah, it was so crazy that they had to go and correct that and nerf the Arcane Burst honorable kill to +1 damage. Almost every part of this card seemed to change and was reverted when it went back to Wild and seems to be okay, but it was absolutely one of those cards that started off pretty bad and yeah, became a bit too much. Also, yeah, it's the theme of this video, so of course. We'll leave off with the last kind of Wild exclusive, although I feel like Standard players are starting to understand the pain of Treasure Distributor. Originally, when this card came out, it only buffed the minion that you would play. You summon the minion, you gave it +1 attack. It was fine. It was an okay card, but Pirates sucked in Standard. Not because this card was bad, but there's no Pirates. And now they buffed it so that it also gets buffed, and it led to just disgusting board states in Wild with Patches the Pirate and the whole Brigand or whatever, the 2/2 that you cheat out, where you can have like turn 1, like 10 attack on the board. You win. GG, unless your opponent has Defile, which, I mean, can you afford to run board clears in Wild these days? And yeah, this guy hasn't been changed back since. It is disgusting in Wild, and wonder, will it last its entire run in Standard this way? Still not that great in Standard, to be fair, outside of like Demon Hunter, but we'll see. It's a pretty silly card. And I guess while we're on Pirates, we got Bloodsail Deckhand. This originally was a 1 mana 2/1, was buffed to be a 2/2 and allowed you to basically discount your next weapon by 1. and then Pirate Quest came out, and then Mr. Smite came out, and the Cannoneer card came out, and it was like, oh my god, what have we done? Pirate Warrior is so frustrating. This thing is ridiculous. All right, we'll take a health off of this so it's not a 1-mana 2/2 with upside, because why would we ever make a 1-mana 2/2 with pure, oh yeah, they have made that since, and a neutral, but still, hey, you know, they learned from, no, they didn't learn from the lesson at all. What are we doing, Blizzard? Regardless, it's a 2/1, doesn't really see much play, but yeah, pretty frustrating experience that we saw in both Standard and Wild at the time. And well, we're gonna start talking about some Rogue cards, because Rogue has been the benefit of some really boneheaded buffs over the years, starting with Velorok Windblade. This card originally would give you a 3/6 charger with that same effect there, but to get it, you had to play 3 cards from another class, so that would take some time. We're playing Rogue, we can't have that, so they buffed the card to just be 1 card you played, and then yeah, basically it's unkillable 3/6 all the time, active on turn like 2 and 3, and then you would win, and you would Shadow Step it and win. It was absurd, it was gross, so they put it down to a 3/3 where it's still a very good card, but yeah, that unnerfed or the buffed Velorok, a little bit of an overbuffing. And it was funny because with the 3 cards, it was in our like worst legendaries, worst cards list period, and then it became like the most broken card in Standard. That's what a buff can do, and well, Rogue has had a few of those. Probably the most baffling, one of the most broken, like this is just outright nuts. Standard Wild, this card got buffed to a 3-mana 3/3 for some reason. Basically, when you play this card, Battle Cry, you draw a card. If you play this turn, gain +2/+2 and repeat this effect. So it's a snowballing minion. If you stepped it and put it in your hand and kept playing the cards, it would retain the buff. If you play like a Mr. Smite and kill your opponent, it was still like a 3-mana draw your deck and just do unforeseenly horrible things. And the funny thing about this card was it had just popped up in a deck that was like the best deck in Standard. It wasn't like a Masters Tour, but the patch was finalized like a day or 2 ahead of time, and boom, it was a disaster. I remember tweeting something along the lines of, I already know the next balance patch, it's gonna be this idiot back to 4, and yeah, to no one's surprise, it broke the game. It was crazy, and well, there's only one more Rogue card that I think is even more broken than this, because it's still breaking the game while today, and is the most nerfed card ever as well, outside of Ziliax. That's the Wildpaw Knoll. So this card's been through some crap, all right? It started, I believe, as a 5-mana 4/5. It was then nerfed to a 6-mana 3/5. It was then reverted for some reason. I believe Secret Passage rotated to Wild and Rogue wasn't like tier 1, so can't have that. And they fully reverted it back to a 5-mana 4/5. That was a huge problem. That became broken, playing 2 of these again on like turn 1. It wasn't about Passage, it was always about that stupid Magister card at the time. So then they nerfed it to a 3/5 again, and it was still broken. It was still too good. So then they changed the wording to be cost 1 less for each non-rogue class card added to your game, so it wouldn't work with Maestra. And now in Wild, it is the best card in the best deck in Wild because of the like twisted pack where you play it 1 mana, you could get 2 of these out for 0, and is probably, I mean, if they ever care about Wild, could be nerfed a 4th time, including a rework, only being contested by Ziliax is like the most problematic card. And not only was it problematic, they buffed it, they reverted, they buffed this card. What were they doing? It's just PTSD. Look at this card. It's not PTSD because it's in Wild and I play it. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. But let's leave off with one of my least favorite cards that they buffed. I get why they tried to do it, but Spite Lash Siren was really problematic as, well, the effect you see right now. Ironically, the 4-mana 2/5 Naga, after you play a Naga, refresh 2 mana crystals, then switch to spell. So when you would play a Naga, then if you played a spell, you would get 2 more mana, and it just kept going. It's like infinite mana. So you play a lot of cheap Nagas, cheap spells, like OTK with this thing in the right situation on like turns 4, 5, and 6. That was obviously too good, so they nerfed it to a 5-mana 2/6, and then Mage was starting to struggle a bit. So hey, what would the harm be of reverting this card back? Let's buff it, and oh my god, it became the exact same thing. Everybody hated it. It was just this infinite mana cheat thing, so they reverted it, they put it back to 5 mana, and then they put it back to 4 mana when it went to Wild, and it's not a problem there, because Wild is, well, it's got Wildpaw Knolls, which are even more problematic, more ridiculous, and yeah, sometimes buffs just don't work out so well. And you know, you got your Chia Drakes, by the way, you've got your extra arms, but those cards I feel like weren't that broken, whereas pretty much all these, yeah, they were pretty darn broken. So we'll see what the next buff wave, because there's always more buffs, what will be the next cards added to this list, and let me know, what have I missed? What do you think should have made this list? Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.